Good evening. So it says here I'm live. It says you can customize your. Unbelievable, isn't it? So what I'm doing, I'm waiting for a few people to come in. I'm waiting for a few people to come in to see what's happening. I've not shared this anywhere. I'm just going to run with it. I'm interested in honesty. I'm interested in integrity. And the title of this live is You're Damned If You Do and You're Damned If You Don't. And it's about dog training in general, not just gun dog training. It's about the internet. It's about how much connectivity you can have with people when you've got the access to the internet and live feeds. And there are so many live feeds out there. It's become, everybody's got on the bandwagon. Everybody's said, right, okay, because of the lockdown, let's all become dog trainers on the internet. I see so much of it. I see so many of it. It's like when I first started a website. I was one of the first people to start a website, and www. And I built a website, and I had a very good following because I was one of the first. And if you wanted a gun dog trainer, you had to find a gun dog trainer. You couldn't just go on the internet and all of a sudden people are throwing stuff at you left, right, and center as dog trainers. So if you wanted a dog trainer and you were specifically a gun dog trainer, you would go to a gun dog trainer for advice. Now everybody's giving advice on the internet. Everybody's giving advice. And what I find is the internet is a fantastic tool for reaching out to people and helping people. And there's some dog trainers out there, a number of dog trainers that I've followed over the years, that go out of their way to put their work up and show their work. I'm all for that. I'm all for that, because then you can decide, can't you? I don't like that method. I like that method. That works. Well, it seems to work because I see it on the video. So if you don't let your work talk for itself and you just go on the internet trying to flog yourself or flog packages or flog seminars and you don't put your work up, how do people understand what you do and how you do it? You can pretend that you're the nicest trainer in the world, but does that mean that you are the nicest trainer in the world? Does nicety always win when it comes to training dogs, or do you sometimes have to be constructive with your criticism and say it the way it is to help people? I think it's really important. I think it's important because I think that people have to see your results, and people are so judgmental before they see your results, or they see one part of a training video you put up and they instantly discredit it and rubbish it. It's a platform. The internet is a platform. It's there for people to um, sell themselves, and so many people are. But are they selling themselves in the right way? Because longevity is what it comes down to. If you've been training for 5 minutes and you think you're going to make yourself an internet star overnight by putting up glamorous 30-second videos, you're not going to do it. It's as simple as that. So it's interesting because I'm looking at this screen at the moment, and I've never gone in live on Facebook like this with the screen that's showing me in front of me, and it's showing me so many things about people um, tuning in, how many people are watching, how many frames per second, what's the video byte rate, video resolution, maximum lifetime is 8 hours for duration. All this sort of stuff is, to somebody of my generation, they've had to learn to put themselves up onto the internet and work the internet. So not only do you need to have the skills of a dog trainer and you need the people skills to be able to put yourself across, you also need the knowledge and understanding how to work a computer, how to move forward with modern technology. Now, I was one of the first to put up gun dog training videos, and it seems that the whole world has gone into now putting up small clips of them training a dog for 30 seconds. That doesn't tell you nothing. That doesn't tell you nothing. What we want to see is regular results that you get somewhere with your dog. It's as simple as that. And at the moment, the dog training world is an absolute nightmare out there. People are bitching and fighting and arguing about this method works and this method doesn't work. I keep saying, if you think you know it all and you want to rubbish other trainers, put up your work. Put up your work and show people what it's really like out there in the big wide world, because it's so easy to sit in your armchair and become an internet expert about dog training and give out comments. And I've heard so much shite over the years. It's as simple as that. There's so many people out there pushing an agenda to make money through the internet. I see we've got a few people in here. We've got Stu Fons, Gary Marrett, and Brett's in the house. Andy Hall, good morning to you. I have a following. I have a following because I'm a gun dog trainer and I speak my mind. That's not going to make me a popular gun dog trainer because I speak my mind. There's your big problem, because he speaks his mind, because he says it the way he sees it. Now, I don't go out of my way to rubbish people who don't rubbish me, but I love listening to other methods of training, all dog training, and I take a little bit from each one of them if I can find anything that I can work with, and I go and work on it myself, and I manipulate it slightly, adjust it, because I see weaknesses in their training without getting on the internet and going, you haven't got a clue, right? I see the weaknesses in their training, but I see something that I think I could use that, I'll try that, and I experiment. But I don't sell it to my clients until I've learned that it works. As simple as that. So we are always evolving as trainers if we have got an open mind, and I think you've got to have an open mind. It's as simple as that. But I'm sick and tired of watching and listening to tripe on the internet. I have been following a very famous protection sports trainer who's been very, very famous, and a lot of people know exactly who I'm talking about. So like Stu Fron says, people want the truth until you say the truth, then they can't cope with it. That's the problem. That is the problem. The truth hurts. Sometimes if you are so open and honest and you say to somebody, I'm sorry, but I've watched your video, you've asked for my opinion, and you haven't got a clue, you shouldn't be teaching, instantly, you're the devil. You're the devil. Well, I haven't got your skill, but I've got a wonderful clientele. You may have the clientele of a group of people with no understanding that are following you, but you haven't got a deep understanding of what I'm trying to put across here about the internet. Just because someone's putting up glossy pictures and talking the talk that you like, it doesn't mean they're getting results. It's as simple as that. And that's what this is about, everybody. This is about going live on Facebook and willing to talk to anybody about gun dog training. Anybody, I'm willing to talk to about gun dog training openly and publicly. Publicly. And where are they? Where are they? Where are these gun dog trainers? These so-called, they're teachers. They teach people. They take seminars. They take your money off you. Why aren't they willing to stand up and say it the way it is? Because they fear the consequences of telling the truth. And that is the problem that we've got out there. Not everybody is capable of accepting the truth and understanding that sometimes it's not rosy in the garden when you're dog training. Sometimes you've got to step up and you've got to change that mindset of that dog. And it's not a thing we should enjoy. Jonathan Wakefield says, I think the fact that you show your work makes it genuine for the first time we see your videos. Others that don't show their work have no appeal to follow at all. Jonathan, thank you for that. And that's my point. If you want to have longevity in this sport, or in the sport that you are following, and it doesn't matter what dog sport it is, whether it's agility, whether it's obedience, whether it's protection work, if you don't put your work up for people to see and you just keep talking about yourself, and saying, I'm the best dog trainer in the world. And, that is a strong statement. I don't care who you are in the world. I don't care if you're a world champion or not a world champion. Just because you're a world champion in that area, that does not mean that you are the authority of the sport. You may have just worked out the system of give the judges what they want. It doesn't mean that you've got all the answers, but it definitely is an indication that you've got some standard, you've got some history behind you, and you can stand there and say these things. But arrogance and confidence is a very fine line. And if someone was trying to sell something to me, and they have been trying to sell something to me about a training seminar they're doing, because I inquired about it once, because I was interested in what's it cost and what's the situation, how does it work. If you're going to charge me $10,000 for a training seminar, a course that you're going to put me on, and you treat me like a child, you're not going to get the best out of me, are you? You're not going to get the best out of me if you try and treat me like a child, to say everything you know, throw away and forget, because you need to strip down your mind to go back to when you were a baby, when you had lack of understanding. I'm nearly 60 years old. This year I'm 60 years old. I've been there. I've got the scars. I've trained the dogs. I've got the knowledge. I've got the understanding. I've learnt by my mistakes. But I've also learnt little bits of how to master a dog, how to use timing, how to use visual, how to use the tools, and use the tools in the correct way to get results. And even though I'm 60, I'm still willing to learn. I'm still willing to open my mind. I'm still searching the internet for the holy grail of dog training, to find that messiah, that person to follow, that person to say, I drop everything and come down your way. But if that person's not putting up the work, they're not putting up the work, but they're talking about it, then I'm not going to spend $10,000. But if you keep having to contact me every day and send me some more lingo and some more lingo and some more sales crap, it's like pyramid sales. It's like, I was going to buy a holiday home, and they rung me every day and they offered me this and they offered me a free holiday. They offered me a new settee, a caravan, and I could do timeshares. It's salesmanship that you just go, hang on, this is just too good to be true. This is too good to be true. But guess what? I still got my mind open, but I'm not going to throw $10,000 into a course where someone says, without even seeing my method of training or even watching or listening to my method of training, that I don't know what I'm doing, I've never known what I'm doing, and I need to unscramble everything I've ever learned to put yourself in a situation to have a clear head to say, let's go forward and let's train. It's as simple as that. As simple as that, everybody. Now, the novice person is searching the internet like crazy, looking for all the answers, looking for the quick fix. I guarantee there's no quick fix. Right? We can do... You can bring a dog to me as a complete novice, and I can show you a little bit of magic, and I can have you on board, and I can have you eating out of my fingers, and I can have you throwing money at me, and I can be turning you over with tricks of the trade. It's no different than a good mechanic will know tricks of the trade, that he doesn't have to get a manual out and study it. It's as simple as that. He's done it so many times, he just read the situation and do it. But also on top of that, sometimes I have to stop and think, hang on, stop thinking that these people have got your knowledge and your understanding it, and the simple basic questions and the mistakes they're making is because no one's addressed those simple mistakes. No one's helped them with simplicity, because they're searching the internet for the perfect way to train a dog, and what's happening? They're getting totally confused, because this person says this, that person says this person says that. Who do you believe? Now, if you want to be an out-and-out sports trainer in competition, you have to sometimes train that competition dog completely different to be top of that pile of what you're chasing. If you're chasing ribbons and you're chasing making dogs up to field trial champions, and that's all you want, then you don't need to deal with the mundane, every little tiny thing that I see with people who come to me for training. And when people come to me for training, I have to teach the person as much as I teach the dog, if not more. Because I can easily unscramble the dog, but I've got to unscramble the person as well. Because what they've done, they've been listening to 6 or 7 different people and got really totally confused. Because this person says that, this person says this person does that. Now, there isn't one dog trainer out there that trains the same. I've never come across a dog trainer yet who trains exactly like I do. And if I do, I'd be astonished. I'd be absolutely astonished, because I've come from so many different avenues, and it's like a tree growing new leaves and new branches. And you branch out here and you test that and you try this and you try that. And I have got a lot of time for this person who's selling this course for $10,000, for the fact that I want to learn more. But you're going to have to show me something that I don't know. You're going to have to show me the light, not just talk about the light, that you've got to head into this light and you must put your shades on, but just believe everything you say because this is the way to go. Where are these people who've been on your course and are now using your methods, and they are so superior to everybody else that no one can touch them in competition? That's like the gun dog world here. The film stars going, listen, you're all training wrong. This system is the best system in the world. This system is the best system in the world because I mastered it and I invented it. I've never ever said my system is the best system in the world. I'm saying it's my system and it works. And if something works and it works well, then why would you change it unless you find something better? Unless you find something better. That's what you've got to evaluate, and that's what you've got to come across. Now, if you've got thousands and thousands of people who have come to you over the years and they've gained success with their dogs and they've gained what they want to achieve and far more than they wanted to achieve, then why would you want to change that method and throw all your collective understanding and learning and study that you've done, throw it out the window to follow this blind light because someone acts like Jesus and says, I have been training dogs for 40 years and I've got the way to train dogs and no one else has got it and I've mastered it and I'm not giving it away. A lot of us give away so much, and we do it for a different reason, because we're not just chasing the money. The money can become the root of all evil. It can become the root of all evil if you push it to the extent, and I've seen this on these forums. Where I've been on these forums, I've been invited onto these dog forums, and they're talking shite. They are talking complete shite. And I got invited. I didn't put myself in the forum. And guess what? I then say something. All of a sudden, I've upset half the forum. Because they turn around to you and say, you can charge whatever you like because people will pay for you if you're good enough. I think some people are fleecing people left, right and centre at any cost. Any cost. And I've seen it. And it's not always the more you spend, the better service you get. It's not. It depends on the individual person. Are they doing it as a money-making scam? And there are far more people out there on the internet making it as a money-making scam. It's the same as breeding and this DNA testing. Nobody really wants to talk about the subject in a proper way. What happens is the people who can't train dogs to a very high standard need to have a sales technique that sells. So they get on the bandwagon, a lot of them, and buy a dog that's been trained, or buy a dog out of a champion to champion. They breed off it, they have the DNA tests on it, and they advertise it for silly money and say it's all DNA tested, it's all but it's not been tested, has it? It's not been tested in the field. It's not been tested in the field. This is why we've got so many cockers with noise. This is why the dogs out there have got problems, but people overlook that. Oh, I can't put my dog in a trial because it makes a noise, but I'll breed off it. I can't put my dog in a test because it's not got the drive in the test, but as soon as it goes in the trial, it overcooks itself and I can't run it in it, but I'll still breed off it. Years ago, certain trainers, it mattered their breeding stock. It mattered. These days, it doesn't seem to matter, does it? It seems to be, let's see how much we can get for the dogs. And this virus shit that's happened, this lockdown, has proven that. It's driven the price of dogs astronomical. And you could say, well, hang on, Chris, you need to get on the bandwagon and start making two and a half, 3 grand on dogs. No, I don't. No, I don't. Because I can happily train dogs, train people, build a name for myself for the right reasons, and not turn people over. But it's not turning people over. Market forces prices. No, greed forces prices. Greed. And that's what's happened with the dog training world. People have got on board of the dog training world, and people are scared to say it. People are scared to say the woman down the road with 2 fat Labradors is now a full-time trainer because she's got nothing better to do, and she's got access to the internet where she can sell herself. She can't sell herself if she's not running dogs in competition, can she? She can't sell herself if she's, this is the thing what they do now, isn't it? They get the gold, the bronze, silver, and gold good citizen scheme. I'm a dog trainer because I've passed the bronze, silver, and gold citizen scheme. Big deal. Well done. Top of the world. Over the moon for you. No, I'm not. As soon as I start mentioning each category of different people in the dog training world, instantly I'm the devil. He's always having a go at somebody in the dog training world. No, I'm not. I'm being totally open and honest, and I'm saying it the way it is. If you don't like it, switch off. If you don't like it, don't watch it. It's as simple as that. But sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes the truth hurts. Sometimes you've got to roll up your sleeves and do the work, do the grind. Go and learn how to train a dog. Learn how to shoot over a dog. There's gun dog trainers out there on the internet, everyone. They don't even own a gun. How can you call yourself a gun dog trainer and you don't own a gun? Simple as that. Then you've got people out there going, yeah, but you've never made up a champion. You don't need to make up a champion to become a gun dog trainer. But you better know how to shoot over them. You better know how to work them, and you better have been successful in the field. And you could say, well, you don't need to be successful in the field. There's plenty of people out there. No, there's plenty of people out there being laughed at by the real dog training world. But that doesn't matter, does it? As long as the internet starts to sort of control people being rude to each other. So if you point out that that person is not a dog trainer and they're triggered and upset about it, and you've mentioned their name, they can have your feed taken down. So there's no such thing as freedom of speech, is there? Because there is so much nastiness on the internet, where genuine nastiness, where people go out of their way to try and ruin other people's lives for no good reason. If I see a trainer and I don't like their method of training, I'm not going to promote them. It's just as simple as that. I'm not going to promote them. I think that a fine example has been this thing with another well-known trainer in America, and this is what I wanted to talk about in this country, is in this country we don't have live feeds discussions between trainers who sell themselves on the internet and trainers who make a living from training people legitimately. What we've got is we've got people, what we call the great pretenders. Right? We've got the film stars of the field trial world, in my eyes, because that's where I come from, the field trial side of it. And you've got people saying, all my training is love and affection, and we only use positive and kind and considerate ways to train a dog. And then in another conversation, whether it's live or private, you would not believe what they say to me. You would not believe what they say to me. And at the end of the day, what is said in private has to stay in private, because you can't tell the world what really goes on in the world, because unfortunately the world would fall apart, because we've become a bunch of snowflakes. You get so triggered if someone says the truth. You get so triggered if someone says we need to talk about the situation. Now, if one trainer is saying the e-collar should be conditioned, with the dog, so the dog understands what the e-collar means, and then you can go in firm on the e-collar if you have to. But everything is love, affection, and you see nothing but kisses and cuddles with dogs. Are they sending you the true message, or are they sending the message they want to send you? Or if there's a trainer out there poking a stick into a hornet's nest and saying, yeah, but that don't work. Well, if it works, put up your work and show it. Now, if that trainer puts up his work and shows it, and people like that method of training, and they like that ideology, then why can't you follow that ideology and accept it? If you're that good, and you've got a method of training that is just superior to anybody else on the planet, all you have to do is put it up and show people. You don't need to say to people, it's took me 25, 30 years to master. I went through the wilderness for 20 years, and then I started to find a way to train. You don't need to do that. What you need to do is, you need to get out there and master the art of training a dog. Learn about movement, learn about timing, learn about looking visually at the dog and seeing if the dog's happy. I'm absolutely cheesed off seeing dogs flattened by e-collars. Flattened because people are going in heavy on e-collars. I've seen it 25 years ago, everybody. I saw it 25 years ago. I saw it when people were frying dogs in the gun dog world because the Americans said this is the new way to train. Then when they said bench training was the way to go, I seen people pinching ears and being barbaric to dogs. I didn't go down that road because I didn't like what I saw. I saw dogs that were flattened. And we're talking about 25 years ago, 30 years ago, because the time flies. When you're out there training and earning a living and surviving, I could now charge silly money for my knowledge and understanding. I could, because my knowledge and understanding, and there's a fine line between arrogance and confidence. That's exactly what I've been trying to say to you. If you've got the confidence, put your work up, put your head above the parapet and say, fire at me if you're going to. But have the bottle to do it. Let's have a look at some of the comments here. Let's have a look at some of the comments. Liz says, hate money makers who claim to be able to train a dog, especially using their reputation to do it. Exactly. Chris, you don't do it for the money. You do it for the love of the dogs. Exactly, Brett. But we still got to earn a living. We still got to earn a living. So don't get me wrong. I'm not like, if I was loaded, I'd do it for nothing. Because it's my passion. You can't say, the one thing you can't say, you might say he's a big mouth, he says what he feels, he upsets so many people, but one thing you can't say, he doesn't rip people off. They're not out there telling you, he ripped me off, he ruined my dog. No. But do I fail very often? Not very often. But the people on Patreon and Facebook know when I don't get the result I want with a dog, and that happens very rarely. But do I hide the fact? No, I don't. I put it up. Because not all dogs can be trained to a high standard. But what you see is what you get. No substitute for experience. That sort of money makes it inaccessible for the average person who wants to train their dog. Rachel Fox. Exactly, Rachel. $10,000. The $10,000 question. But if you had a method of training that was so superior to everybody else's out there, but stop and think. If anybody has actually been following this argument, this debate, and there's nothing wrong with debate, you've got to stop and think. Will the public accept your way of training? Or will you become #1 hated dog trainer on the internet? Because I know exactly what you're trying to say, but you've got to sell to the community and get the training across to them. If I just said to a first customer, well, I see loads of people, don't I? The client who comes here with a dog that's really dominating the situation, and I go, bang, there you go, I've nailed it for you. Look at that now. You'll not have any problem now. And the dog is on its arse on the floor, tail up its arse, eyes glazed, and doesn't want to move off the spot. You may look like you've sorted the problem out, but you haven't. You haven't sorted the problem out. I know those trainers. I've seen those trainers. That's not dog training. That's dominance. That's a bully. And there's plenty of them out there, trust me. There's plenty of them out there. But guess what? Do they get results? Short term, in front of you. Then you go away and start doing that. Watch what you do to your dog. You will wreck your dog. But guess what? There is a time to step it up and use discipline, and that's what they're not talking about. That's what they fear talking about. I was talking to someone the other day. I'm not going to say who it was because, like I say, I get so many people speak to me in private, and they said that the old fan belt, used to use the old fan belt off the old car, the old fan belt, and give the dog a lesson with a fan belt. Never done it in my life. Never done it in my life. Why have I never done it in my life? I don't think thrashing the dog is going to get the best out of a dog. But some people believe to this day, and yet they're still selling that ideology that everything can be done with fairy farts. I'm sorry, it can't. Or you've got to be in the right group of people before I start giving you the information that you really need. Disagree. We have moved forward with training if you study and you watch and you use different elements of training from different aspects of training with different dogs in different disciplines. So, you know, I'm not really into an obedience trainer dog, but I watch obedience. Fly ball. It's crazy, isn't it? There's a lot of things in there I'd never use, but guess what? Look at the drive they create with the ball. If you can look at every aspect of training, and if you watch it and have an open mind, but this is where the problem is, isn't it? People haven't got an open mind. People are not willing, like this person is saying, I'm going to have to strip you down and start you all over again. Let's have a look what Gary says. But by them not being honest in how they train, we all end up being only allowed to use treats and fairy farts to train. What a brilliant comment. What a brilliant comment. He's right. Because if you've got people who are high up with the kennel club in the gun dog world not willing to address the fact that we have to step up and use discipline at certain times, it's the skill showing how to use it and when to show it. Now, I've now been doing this on the internet for over 7 years. On the internet, as in putting up videos. Over 7 years. I would say it's coming up to 10 years. I still see videos now that are 10 years old. So I was one of the first ones to do it. Have I ever been prosecuted for animal cruelty? No. Have I ever had a case that's been investigated because of arsewipes out there, snowflakes, that have edited the video and just sent a little tiny bit into the RSPCA? Yes. That's the price you pay for putting your head above the parapet. Because if I've got to square your dog up, I've got to square your dog up, but I've got to show you why I'm squaring your dog up. And I've got to show you that it works without flattening that dog to the point that that dog will never be the same again. If you're telling a child off, do you want the child laughing at you and moving around on the spot and walking away from you, not looking at you? How many times, remember when we were at school, the teacher say, look at me when I'm talking to you, trying to get your attention. Remember that? And you'd look away. Have you seen them now? Hands on shoulders. You can't tell me what to do. This is what we got in the dog world. We've got dogs that are so spoiled and like the children have not got no consequences. And this is why we have this problem. Now, don't get me wrong. When I was at school, it was exactly the same. What have we learnt from psychology? What have we learnt in the last 40, 50 years from teaching children? Oh, we got to give in to them and say, well done. It doesn't matter if you don't come first. It's just taking part that matters. Well, hang on. This person that's doing the $10,000 question sent me a spiel today about, come on, hurry up. Why have you not joined my group and spent your $10,000? Do you want to be a gazelle or a lion? Because a gazelle has to learn to run fast. You want to be the fastest gazelle, or do you want to be the fastest lion? No. Not worried about that. Not worried about that. I don't look at life like that anymore. I'm not chasing a dream. I'm living a dream. I'm not chasing a dream. I'm living a dream. I'm teaching people and we get results. And we don't get much failure. So we don't get much failure. But what we do when we do fail, we haven't screwed the dog's mind up. We've said this dog doesn't have the mental capacity to go forward any further. It's knowing how to read a dog. But when that did happen to me a few months ago with a Labrador, because it couldn't retain and hold that knowledge, I didn't beat that dog into submission and say, let me smash it into submission and it's scared to leave your side. No, I said to the owner, listen, we've done our best. I take my hat off to you. And I gave them some money back because they took the chance and I wasn't happy with the result. But that dog can still be a nice pet, working dog to a certain level, but it ain't going to make the grade of what I wanted to achieve. And if I'm not happy, I'm not taking your money off you just for the sake that your dog's been here and I've put the work in. I put more work into that dog than I did with many a dog, right? Because I don't like failure. I don't want my clients to fail. I don't want my clients to give in. But if my clients are so pig-headed that they believe that they've listened to other trainers and they bring a dog to me that is shite, and I said, listen, you've been listening to the wrong people. There's the proof. And then they argue with me, you're wasting your money. You might as well go away, because I'm not going to argue with you. I'm too busy helping people who really want to move forward with the dog and clear that mind, because they've been brainwashed that everything can be done with fairy farts and no treats. No to treats. Well, Mike, I disagree. I think any method that works, and the tools we use, if we use them sparingly, I find that it works better. So if you're going to use discipline and you're using it all the time, it's not going to work. If you give a command, it's got to be followed through. As simple as that. But why do you always need to give a command? That's the bigger question, isn't it? Why do you need to become a dictator, an obedience trainer to a dog? Why do you need to keep telling the dog command after command after command if you've got a dog that wants to be with you, is enjoying being with you, and you're not nagging it? It's the same as clients. When they come here and I put up a video of their dog and it's gone well and I've gone, there's the Chris Upton handshake, you've done very well. The smile on their face and their trip down here means far more than me beasting the shit out of them. But sometimes I've got to put it up and they see it on the video, they go away and they bite the steering wheel all the way home. But they come back to me, most of them, 95% of them come back to me and they go, I learnt from that. Thanks so much, Chris, the way you put it across. And sometimes you've got to see your mistakes. And we all make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes in dog training. Everybody. You know, I've got such a wonderful group of people who follow us that it's a pleasure to go out training with them. It's a pleasure to get in the mule and go out training because they're focused, they want to do it. You imagine what it's like in the pet world when some people just want an instant quick fix. My dog is doing this and you need to stop this behavior. Hang on, you've got to look at the bigger picture. You've got to look about the environment the dog's in, how it's been. Is it switching off? Is it not switching off? A lot of people who come to me have got some knowledge, and that knowledge is great because we can use that knowledge but add to it. But if I was getting negative results or bad results for the way I train, then I'd be searching even more than I search, and I search probably more than anyone I know, except for William. William is on everything. You couldn't beat William George Webb to any podcast. I tell you, he's on everything before anyone. I don't know. He must walk around doing his dogs with podcast in his ears all the time. He's so funny. He's a nice lad. But the thing is, what I'm saying to you is, the following you get has to be the following that those people will come back time and time again. If you're only hit them for a week or two and then they clear off and they never come back, you're not sustainably running your business in a professional way that's keeping them there. Because what you're doing, you're just trying to, you're like a fly, aren't you, with sticky sticky pads, and you're just waiting for someone to step onto the branch, and then you got them. There, William. He's in here, look. See that, everyone? He's in here, look. And at the end of the day, he's another hungry dog trainer who's hungry for knowledge. But it must be so confusing out there for the average person who just wants a quick fix. Tell me how to fix my dog. And I think that the pet dog trainers have got a harder job than me as a gun dog trainer, because most people who have had a couple of dogs have some understanding, but it's just putting it into simple format so the dog understands. Has dog training become too scientific? Has it become, people become too obsessed with the words and the science behind it, and the 4 quadrants and well, so many things. They're studying the science. They're studying Skinner. They're studying Pavlov. They're studying old science. Science is theory until proven. It's as simple as that. Science is theory until proven. And the scientist's job is to take the evidence, analyze it in an unbiased manner, and give an opinion, a scientific opinion. They're supposed to be able to break it down. But it's not happening like that, because the Kennel Club are employing people to do the science, but they're telling them what they want them to find. And the Kennel Club in the UK are a disgrace. And we need to break away from them. It's as simple as that. We need to break away from the Kennel Club in the UK. Because if the Kennel Club tell you that you can only train dogs with love and affection, let them have the fly ball, people. Let them have that crazy dogs, because sometimes crazy dogs do crazy things. It's the same as you go to a scurry. Some of those dogs that can win scurries are brilliant at winning scurries, but they sing all the way out and they sing all the way back. We don't want that in a gun dog in the real world. You do not want to be in the beating line with a dog that's noisy. You don't want to be in the beating line with a dog that's got hard mouth. So you can create drive by playing tug with a dog, but you don't want to be playing tug with a gun dog and making him grab hold and fight and pull and snatch and rip stuff in his mouth. Now, if you've got a non-retriever, a complete non-retriever, and you have to do that to get the dog keen to hold something and be possessive over it, then that may be the last straw, because before that it was, now I'm going to force you to do it. Now I'm going to force you to hold it. Because if a customer brings you a dog and he's 8 months old, 9 months old, and they've never done no retrieving with it, and it's got no retrieving skills at all, and it's got no desire to want to retrieve, it just wants to go hunting, you have to think outside the box. How can I motivate this dog? And the last resort, and this is the last resort for me, is I will force you to hold it. But first, I've got to get you to want to retrieve it. So we're not just talking about a delivery problem where the dog's dropping it short. We're talking about a dog that looks at a ball, looks at a dummy and goes, I'm not chasing that. That means nothing to me. And we motivate through gameplay. 95% of my training is gameplay. The people who train with me will understand that. The people who go out of their way to come here on a regular basis will understand that 95% of building drive is far more important than suppressing drive. But at the right moment, you need to then have the control put into the dog as well. And the control goes into that dog, even though you've gone nearly 12 months sometimes with these dogs without putting a stop on it. And people say, it just happened. Because you've built it up through gameplay like I've showed you. But that doesn't mean, it's exactly the same as that e-collar. It doesn't mean you won't dial it up if you really need to. Sometimes you need to step it up with certain dogs, and some dogs you don't. And that's why people struggle, because every dog is different. You can't write a book from A to Z, how to train a dog. It wouldn't work for every dog. It would not work. And what happens with books, they stand still in time. Now, I know that a well-known e-collar trainer has got a book out there that's been very successful, and I've got the book. He sent me the book, he signed it for me. I've read the book. It's a simple book to follow, a simple format for the average person who has got a dog not coming back, not listening to him, and you need to get some control into the dog. And the simple format, whether he hasn't intellectually got that knowledge and that understanding, I don't think it matters. It's great if you have, because then you can stand up and argue about the science behind the situation. But if you write it in what we call layman's terms, it's the same as those car manuals. Remember them car manuals, Haynes car manuals? How many people went out and bought a Haynes car manual and then would sit there scratching their head? Now, some people are academic and some people aren't. And that's exactly the same with the dogs. Some dogs have got that intelligence to seem to learn on the job, and some just need to be taught. And I could take an engine out, I'm talking not about modern cars, it's all computers now, and it plug everything in. But I could take an engine out like a Mark 1 Escort. By watching someone take it out, I could take it out. I could then put that engine back in years ago. I wouldn't know where to start now with a modern engine. But if I sat down and read the book of how to do it from A to Z, how to take the engine out, I'd bin it and get someone to take the engine out for me. Because I haven't got those skills academically like that, but I've gone out of my way to study the science and listen to the science. And I think so much of the science is flawed because it's only theory till proved. And then someone else could do a study on it and prove that that science was wrong. I'm not saying all science is just bin it. No. You need to listen to everything and evaluate and come up with, if you want to educate yourself, you have to go out of your way. I put up some podcasts that are 3 hours long on Patreon of other people. I say, I've listened to this is a good one. I've listened to this one, and listen to this, I don't agree with it. But I'm not doing it in public, rubbishing people. I'm doing it in my group where I'm collectively bringing stuff together to help people understand through what other people think and the way they think as well. Now, I'm not just looking for people who have got my same mindset, but I'm looking for people who have been in the game for a long time and have the same understanding. And when I first came across Ivan about gameplay, I thought, yes, magic. I found another person who's been very successful who uses so much gameplay. But did I pay for his gameplay video? No, I didn't. Because it was expensive. And I know how to teach dogs with gameplay. But if he said, I've got a method of training and I'll show you, and he put up a video with using an e-collar and it just transformed the dog completely, I'd pay for the lesson, how to transform a dog with an e-collar. Because I'm willing to open my mind and have an open mind. And it's okay. I got trainers saying to me, I know you use an e-collar, Chris, but I'd never use an e-collar. Well, you're the dinosaur, not me. Because if you learn how to use the e-collar the way I show you, the way I've followed other people and seen the results, then you would say, wow, it's a game changer in today's society. Because what did we used to do, everybody, in the gun dog world, in the real gun dog world here? If a dog blew you off and was gone after a rabbit or a bird, and you knew you'd taught the behaviour, if you haven't taught the behaviour to sit, recall, then you're a cruel bastard if you're giving that dog chastisement. Taught the behaviour, the dog knows the behaviour, and you understand the dog knows the behaviour, you've got to get out after it, and you've got to drag it back. You can't get out after it or ignore it and it will go away, because it will manifest and get worse. So what did we used to have to do? Am I talking out of school? No. Get out after the dog and drag it back. A lot of these scientific studies are done by people who have an agenda and will come to the conclusions they want, not necessarily what the results actually show. They are biased, to be honest. It's exactly the same as the fag companies, didn't it? Remember that? Fag companies. These will make you healthier. These cigarettes are good for you. You'll become a real man if you smoke these real cigarettes. And now all of a sudden it's like down the line, you can't smoke anywhere now, can you? It's what they sell, isn't it? It's how they sell it, isn't it? And it's all about big business. It's all about big industry. Why are the RSPCA against using the tool if it's used the way if they studied and watched people? And yet we've got some people in the RSPCA who use e-collars. We've got some RSPCA officers that I know that use the e-collar. It's a matter of choice. It's a matter of each individual, if it's legal in this country and you want to use an e-collar, why can't you use an e-collar? Why should everybody else who doesn't use an e-collar call you barbaric and you're cruel? But guess what? There's dog trainers out there, gun dog trainers, that use the e-collar, use the prong collar, and they're not saying nothing about it. They're not saying nothing about it because they fear they'll lose business. I'm not losing business. I'm gaining more and more business for one reason: my honesty, my integrity, my saying it the way it is. If I didn't spend 2.5 years using the e-collar in a very delicate way, there's no way on this earth would I have gone in there with the e-collar and fried dogs, like somebody is suggesting at the moment at certain situations, and you don't need to build the dog up to it or get the dog to understand what it means. There's no way I would have done it. Why? Because I've seen too many people fucking dogs up, excuse my French, but messing dogs up, and that makes me angry. I saw panel judges, and when I say panel judges, just people who don't know what I'm talking about A panel and B panel judges using e-collars and frying the shit out of dogs. I saw dogs screaming and shitting themselves. I'm not talking out of school. I'm not dropping people's names in it. What I'm saying is it was a barbaric, nasty tool that people should not get involved in 25 years ago. But things started to change about 15 years ago, and I missed the boat for 10 years. I missed the boat for 10 years because I was of the mindset they're a barbaric tool because I've looked at them, I've watched people ruin dogs. I ended up with a dog that I won with that was fried on an e-collar, and it was false pointing. Now, false pointing is where a dog will go in on the flush and stop and be hesitant. And in the rules for competition, that is not looked as an added requirement, a thing that you want. You want a contact flush. So technically, the dog's hunting, goes into a bird, bang, up gets the bird, dog stops, watches it away. That's a contact flush. And it was so important because the Americans really love a contact flush. They love a driven dog. But I know trainers who've gone over to America from this country to try and educate people in America, and their mindset is e-collar, e-collar, e-collar. Discipline, 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 discipline. But what you've got to understand is, Keith Erlandson said it years and years ago. He said, there isn't a hard spaniel left in England, Chris. He said this years and years and years ago. And I said, what do you mean, Keith? He said, they've all been sold to the States. I said, why? He says, because they can't handle them in this country anymore. And they need more driven dogs on open areas. And they have to have more drive in them, and they love that sort of dog. So anything with a problem that people can't handle in this country, and it's got drive, and it's opening up, and it's taking in so much ground, it doesn't matter if it's got noise, hard mouth, they want it. They want it. And that's what people were doing. They were shipping out all the hard dogs, and the dog lines got softer and softer. And have they got softer for the better? Because now you've got dogs that are so emotionally unstable, unless you give them time to develop. And that's what I've learnt. I've learnt that through trial and error by making mistakes. And I'm not talking about customers' dogs, because I'm talking about my dogs, my competition dogs, that you don't want to mess your dog up and get rid of it and then buy another one and then get rid of it and buy another one until you've got one out of 15 that you're successful with. I messed up my first 3 dogs. I messed them up because of a lack of understanding, but I learnt from those mistakes. I still sold the dogs as wonderful little shooting dogs, but I'd messed them up as competition dogs because I'd suppressed the drive with obedience. They were clockwork oranges. Then I realised I know what they want. They want a more driven dog, because I'm not going to beat the film stars with an average dog. I'm not going to beat the film stars with a good dog. I've got to have a dog that stands out, that makes people think, Jesus, I wish I had that. I've been running dogs in trials, and the judges tap me on the shoulder as I'm still running the dog, trying to impress him. I'm trying to watch my dog, multitasking, because it's hunting so hard. And he goes, what's that out of? What's that out of? Ask me afterwards, mate. Ask me afterwards. Don't ask me now. I'm busy. I'm trying to win the trial. And those dogs were like gladiators, and they made you excited. They made your heart skip because they were hunting so hard. And yet, when you blew that stop whistle, they stopped on a sixpence. They watched the bird away. The judge said, send your dog. It went straight to the fall and straight back. There was none of this, get out, go back, go back, go back, go back. And then crying to the judge because you had a bird shot a long way out. Or if you did have a bird a shot long way out, you could then show your real skills of handing the dog out to the fall and letting the dog take the line from the area the bird came down, because say the dog was in thick cover, hunting thick cover, and bang, 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 guns are all shooting at this bird because they're trying to knock it down 10, 15 feet away from you to give you a simple retrieve. And then it's like, when you're shooting over me, you'll look after me. Load of shite. Load of shite. I've seen everything in competition that you wouldn't believe because I've been there and done it. You can only talk about it when you've done it. You can only talk about it when you've been there and done it. And if you've not been successful and you're standing up there putting your head above the parapet, you're going to get shot at. But guess what? Just because you've been successful don't make you a good dog trainer. Because you may have mastered the art of training a dog for competition, it doesn't mean it's a good dog in the field. But if I'm standing there watching you work your dog, and you can keep your dog there nice and calm, and the dog's watching birds down, and you send your dog and out it goes and it comes back with a bird nice and cleanly, that's what you want, isn't it? That's what most people want. Most people I deal with these days want a nice, well-schooled dog that can work in the field, that they can be proud of. And if it's got some drive about it, and everyone keeps saying, what a wonderful dog you've got there, isn't that great? Now, if everybody was on here from my group and Patreon, and they were listening, you'd have this pinging, and people saying, that's exactly what people say to me when they see my dog on the shoot. They go, who trained that for you? And I get the biggest satisfaction that I say, I trained it myself. Chris Upton showed me. Oh, I've heard about him. He's controversial, he is. Of course he's freaking controversial. He speaks his mind. He says it the way he sees it. As simple as that. I don't want snowflakes and fanny farts on my freaking Patreon site. Thank you very much. I don't want people arguing with each other and saying, oh, I think that's cruel what you did to that dog. But guess what? There ain't no cruelty on my site. But they're so willing to look at my YouTube videos and be negative about them. But guess what? I don't care. You grow thicker skin. The more successful you become at doing something, the more shit you've got to handle from idiots. Simple as that. Because it creates jealousy. It creates jealousy. I've turned up with the missus and kids when they were toddlers at a test, an open test, to run my dog in an open test. Well, I'm only a human being. And then you hear whispers, and you say you're running number 8, and when you get called in line, you get some idiot you hear, come on, Upton's running, let's see how the professionals do it. You're going to have pressure put on you. When Ian Openshaw puts himself out there, or the top people put themselves out there, everybody wants to beat Ian. You have to be motivated. You have to be driven. You have to be obsessed with sometimes with what you want to achieve. Sometimes you've got to be clinical. But guess what? I've stood in line with people like Ian Openshaw, and Ian's cracking jokes left, right and centre. He's got a very dry sense of humour. And you don't realise that although there's rivalry there and there's competition, you can still appreciate someone for their drive and their keenness for training dogs. And the one thing you can't take away from some people, you might not want to be that person, but you may covet that person and say, I want to be that person. I wish I was as successful as him. A lot of people would be. But I think it's about quality of life. And it's about, we're not on this planet that long. And if you can make good friends along the way, as in clients become friends as well, isn't that a wonderful situation, everybody? If you've had clients, and I'm lucky that I have, and not everybody becomes a good friend, don't get me wrong. But I can say I've had people that I've been dealing with for 25, 30 years, and I still deal with, and we are great friends. And the dog world has brought me closer to so many people with like-minded way of thinking, dog training. To me, that's what this is about, everybody. It's about, I don't want to be putting myself out there on the internet as sell, 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 sell. But I'm so fed up with listening to the crap out there that people are being sold down the river. and people are being slagged off for putting the work up. Whether you like someone or you don't like someone, give them credit for putting the work up, because that is the way you can decide whether that sort of training is for you or not for you. Why don't you look at it in that light instead of going, that is cruel, that is damn right not dog training. Sometimes you don't see what we have to do to step up, and if we showed you everything, then it would bring the game into disrepute. It's as simple as that. But that's rare. Why would I want to put that stuff up to promote people saying go and do that because that's the way to train a dog? No, you don't. You put it up in a format that people can learn, and you have to learn to adjust that format that shows people how to train a dog with as much kindness as possible. But don't dismiss that 5% discipline, because if we lose it, then we might as well all get a couch potato dog and sit on the couch and watch soap operas. As simple as that. There he goes. He's having a go at soap opera people. Anyway, that's Chris Upton. You've had an hour, and I hope you've enjoyed it. I just think to myself that if I can tap into a few people struggling who've paid silly money to go dog training with someone who's promised them the world, and they're getting nowhere, and they still can't take the dog off a lead and have steadiness, and they're having to screw the dog into the ground. I watched a Field Sports Channel video the other day, and I was absolutely amazed. I thought, how can you put this shit on the internet for people to see, promoting a guy who obviously has not got a clue how to train a dog or train people? And you could say, yes, we've all got to start somewhere. It's introducing people into the sport. You should not be taking a dog on a shoot, picking up or learning how to pick up, if you've got no control over your dog in the first place. You need to get some basics into the dog. And if that person's not giving you the basics, you shouldn't be going on a shoot. I'll tell you a quick story. I was on a shoot down in Cornwall. I was picking up, and a woman was picking up with some cockers. And these cockers were all round her, and she had all the gear and no idea. She stood on this hillside, and I was on the other side of the hill, so I was watching her picking up behind the guns. And I was picking up captain. And they would say, where do you want me to go? And I used to say to the regulars, you know where to go. Go and stand behind a gun. If someone's there with a dog, or they've got a dog, go and find another gun. Because we've got to cover 8 guns roughly, or 10 guns, whatever it is. And we might have 4 pickers up. So we've got to spread ourselves out sometimes, and sometimes we might have 8 pickers up. So each picker up can stand behind a gun, but sometimes you've got a couple out the back sweeping up. And it's a job that it's an easy job to run if you've got a good team. If you keep getting given people who've got no understanding into the team to pick up. Here, Chris, you've got 2 new pickers up today. Have you ever done it before? No, I haven't. You've got to teach them. You've got to teach them. They're not expected to go straight in there, but some of them did. Some of them had connections, like they were friends of the family, and they were, and this is the situation. So she was there with the dogs, and I was watching birds coming down, and the dog went after the runners and brought them back, but the dead ones, it just ran around, ran out to them, and then ran back and left them. And I thought, that's a bit strange. So at the end of the drive, I just stood, because I had a quiet area that I was covering a high bank, and there was only a couple of birds pitching. So I sent my dogs for retrieves, and he got the retrieves of the birds that were lightly hit. Experienced dog. I wouldn't put a novice person where I was picking up, but she was right out the back behind the guns in a grass field. Not difficult. And I watched her then wobbling back with the guns, chatting, wanted a gin and tonic for 11s. And I looked in her hand, and she had 2 birds. She had the 2 runners, but she didn't have the 7 or 8 birds that were shot dead in the field. So I went over to her and I said, can I have a word with you? I said, where's your birds? She said, they're here. I said, you've only got 2, but there's at least another 6 birds in that field you haven't picked. She said she won't pick the dead ones. She'll only pick the runners. She's not interested in the dead ones. I said, well, who's going to pick them? She says, the guns are going to pick them as they come back down the hill. I said, that's not the gun's job. They haven't got dogs. They've asked on this shoot not to bring the dogs if they're not under control. Well, they saw what they shot, they'll pick them. And some of the guns do walk around and pick the birds. But it's confusing, because if I'm not watching her and she's walking away from birds, she ain't doing the job. So I said to her, listen, you need to tell us if you don't know what you're doing, and you'll have to stand with someone and educate you. She said, I go to a professional trainer. And she named the trainer, and she's just round the corner from me. Do you know what I said? Well, I'd go back to your trainer and ask for your money back. Why don't you go out with your trainer and learn how to pick up? Because there's no way you should be on a shoot with an out-of-control dog and a dog that can't do the job. But do you know the only reason she was there doing what she was doing in reality is because she is related. She was the sister of a brother of one of the guns. But if they don't tell you, and you've never seen them pick up, you've never seen them work a dog, then how do you know? And then you've got your people who don't go out the back looking for the runners. And there's a guy out the back spending half an hour looking for a runner, doing a brilliant job with a dog, absolute brilliant dog, you know, searching, tracking that bird more or less, and getting that bird and coming back. And then people turn around and go, he's hardly ever got a bird. And I go, you haven't got a clue. That guy's out the back doing a better job than you can imagine. And that only comes with knowledge and understanding, everybody. That only comes with time and putting the hours in, doing your basic education before you try to go to university. But there's so many people on the internet selling that dream that they are professional dog trainers, when in fact they're hairdressers, and they do it for peanut money. But then they realize they can make more money training dogs than they can hairdressing. You know? So they let their staff run their hairdressing salons, and they become gun dog trainers for women who've not got an idea, not got a clue. And as soon as you go down that road, your class is a sexist, because you're now saying that women don't have a clue. No, I'm not. There are some brilliant women trainers out there. There are some dedicated, fantastic women trainers out there. But the sport has changed over the years. You have tears when they've been judged. If they've failed on a bird, they can't man up. They'll analyze it. They'll ask the judge why they didn't get it. The judge is there to judge you on the day. He's not there to teach you. He's not there to tell you what you should be doing. He's just there, standing in the background. You're supposed to impress him with your dog. But tests and trials have changed, and I'm saying this not for the better, because of the system. The system is broken. Don't get me wrong, there are some brilliant dog people out there who win trials, who are successful at trials, who know how to train dogs, can train people, but it's losing the percentage of people who teach are professionals. It's becoming more people teach who are amateurs and haven't got a clue. And that's why we got such a mess in the dog training world. People are getting on the bandwagon without the knowledge and understanding and putting that time in, that apprenticeship. You know, years ago, it used to be important, apprenticeship, didn't it? It used to be a thing that if you couldn't go on to higher education, you'd go for an apprenticeship and you'd learn a skill, wouldn't you? And then once you'd learned that skill and you weren't on good money while you were learning that skill, you then became a professional. It's not happening. It's not happening in the dog training world, is it? Because people are reading the science that is rammed down people's throats that says this is the way to go. This is how testosterone works. This is how dopamine works. This is how Skinner and Pavlov and I can name so many others. I don't want to confuse anybody. I want to keep it simple. I want to keep it simple. I want people to understand that learning to read a dog, learning how to get a relationship with a dog is far more important than learning the science. You can do a degree, you can do whatever you want in life. Good on you for having a go. But just because you've got a degree, because that's what people are saying now. What qualifications have you got? Well, what qualifications has an RSPCA officer got when it comes to dog training? None. Not unless he's a dog trainer and he's studied. What is an animal behaviourist? Somebody who studied animals. So if you're an animal behaviourist, does that mean you're a dog trainer? Not if you've studied hedgehogs. Not if you've studied bats. It depends what you've studied. But just because you study, that's like when people come out of university, a lot of them can't get a job. I've got a degree. I've got a degree. Great, well done. But you haven't got any experience. You're going to have to do 2 to 3 years before you've got the experience. So we've now got to take you on where you think you're going to get X number of pounds because you've got a degree. We've got to pay you more because you've got a degree. And yet you're green on it. You haven't got a clue. Because you need to roll up your sleeves and get dirty as well as your degree. So the science, the understanding, the knowledge of training dog after dog after dog, training person after person after person gives you an input into understanding. But it's collective, it's everything added up. If you're not willing to do it, that's your problem. Anyway, that's Chris Upton. Going to sign off. Hope you've enjoyed that. We are on live feed on YouTube tomorrow. The only reason I've gone live tonight is Sue's at work, and I was so fed up with listening to a number of people that I follow and I actually promote being absolutely ripped to pieces at the moment because of their way of thinking. And I just think people are so judgmental and people could be so nasty and damaging on the internet. I think that there's nothing wrong with debate. There's nothing wrong with open debate and good debate. That's the way we need to move forward. And I thank the Americans. You know, it's so easy, isn't it? Them and us, the Americans and us. I thank the Americans for at least talking about it, at least debating about it, at least putting up videos. In this country, it's become bury your head in the sand. You better not say anything in case you lose people following you. Just because you've got 3,500, 5,000 people on Facebook. I get people asked to be my Facebook friend. They've never met me. I don't know them. They've got a furry friend sitting on the settee. I don't even let them in. Because it's not about numbers. It's about the quality of people you work with. It's about the quality of people who've got an open mind. You might as well only work with people who've got an open mind. Because if you're blinkered, you're wasting your time. Open your mind. There's nothing wrong with opening your mind. But why should you forget everything you've ever learned and everything you've mastered and everything that works? Just because one person says, I am the Messiah. I am the chosen one. I've learned everything. Well, perhaps if he came to me, he might change some of his training. You never know. Chris Upton signing off. Good night all.